Hi everyone, Kieran Brown here, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about how to actually enjoy the gym, and this is going to be targeted towards like skinnier guys who have just never been able to get consistent with the gym. So this is a situation I can definitely relate to. This is a picture of me like probably 5 years ago now, when I was 21, and at this point I just finished university and I had tried multiple times before to try and get consistent with the gym. I was always skinny and I wanted to build some muscle and get bigger, but I was just never able to do it. And I didn't find it enjoyable. And that's probably the main reason why, along with just not really knowing like what to do and having the motivation to go to the gym like by myself. But in the past couple of years, I've learned some new things and gone on a personal journey. And finally, now I can say that I'm consistent with the gym, and I look forward to it all the time. I'm going to take you through different things I've learned that have helped me get to this situation now. So, first of all, is to have a vision, and the actions will follow. I was listening to a podcast with Arnold Schwarzenegger on, and he said like the number one thing which he recommends and has said has helped him to become so successful is having a vision and doing visualizations regularly. And the picture on the right there is from 1966 when he won his first big competition. I can't remember what it was called, but he was 19 years old and he went to London, and he said he, up until that point, he had been visualizing himself standing on stage just like he is there, holding the trophy, and like the crowd is chanting his name, and that's exactly what happened. And it was something which he visualized before. And for me personally, that the body there on the left is Kino body, and that's sort of the vision of the body which I personally want, and it's something to aim for and compare like my current progress pictures to. And also you can visualize like your strength standards as well. So one which I visualize a lot now is being able to bench 90 kilos for 5 reps on the incline bench, which would get me to like the warrior strength level. If you want to know more about different strength levels, then I've done a couple other videos on that and how to work them out. So yeah, sometimes I just visualize having 35 kilos on each side and just visualizing completing that last rep, and re-racking the bar and just doing like a little fist pump, like buzzing that you've just hit a new personal record. And I'm sure it'll happen in the near future. So have a vision, have an end goal that you're aiming for, and just think about it all the time. Here's one which I've never seen anyone else talk about before, but it's something which I've done and has really helped me to keep motivated, is to have like predictors. And basically these break down like your big goal into much smaller steps and can actually give you timescales on when you're likely to achieve it. And it can be quite daunting at the For example, the table on the right there is a muscle mass predictor. And basically, the target I've aimed for is 0.2 kilograms of muscle per week. And you'll need some body composition scales to measure this. But if you don't, if you just have normal scales, you can just go off weight, somewhere between zero point 0.3 and to like 0.5, something like that, maybe even more. On my bulk, I actually averaged 0.7. So I went a bit over like that sort of range, but just pick a number, maybe like 0.5, and just basically write out from the start where you are and just increase zero point 0.2, for example, muscle mass each time. And then you can put like the predicted dates as well. And I find this super motivating. And then you can write down like when you actually get it. And then the bottom line there is like the overall end goal. So I've got like 12 weeks on there, I think. And you can do the same for like cutting and have a predicted body fat percentage at each weight. And so for that one, I unfortunately didn't have the data from like my first ever cut, which is something I wish I had. Um, but once you start collecting your own data, you can figure out like your own formulas and see how much body fat you lose like sort of per kilo, and then you can do the calculations from there. I hope that makes sense. If you want me to explain this a bit more in another video, let me know. But yeah, I just set these up in like Google Sheets and just put the formulas in, and it's super motivating. One thing to ask yourself is, what is the alternative for you not going to the gym? You're probably just going to look the same, like indefinitely, and you'll never see improvements. And the time's going to pass anyway. So you might as well put some of the work in, and then your future self will be able to thank you for it. And, you know, let's say you have the goal to go to the gym 3 times a week. Next week is going to come whether you gym or not. And there isn't any catching up. Like once the day has passed and you've missed a gym session, like that's it. There's no catching up. It's gone forever. So think about it like that. And this can really motivate you when you're sat there. You might have got home after work and you're thinking, like, do I go to the gym or not? Well, there's no catching up, and you just say to yourself, like, if I don't go now, the opportunity to go to the gym today is then gone forever. And you can transform yourself in as little as 6 months, um, even less if you're leaning down. And a 6 months commitment in the grand scheme of your life, you might live 80, 100 plus years. Getting this 6 month period out of the way is really not a too big commitment, I don't think. And don't you wish like your younger self put this work in before? Like, I certainly wish I was able to get committed to the gym when I was like 18, 19, when I first started trying to go. And I think my life would be a lot better now if I was able to commit. But it's important to only focus on the things that we can control. And we can't control the past, but we can affect the present, and we can make sure that we're on the right path and making progress, today. Following a program was a huge one for my motivation. One of the big things that stops people from even starting the gym is just not knowing what to do. And buying a program takes all the guesswork out of it. And you can just switch your brain off, turn up to the gym, and you've got everything there for you. What exercises to do, how many reps, how many sets, when do you increase the weight, that kind of thing. And it just makes it so much easier not having to guess and get to the gym and go through the motions and use up lots of brain power trying to make all these different decisions. So I highly recommend buying one, and particularly buying one because you'll get that pain of spending some money. The one I bought was the Kino Body Warrior Shredding Program. It's like $100, and because I paid for it, I'm far more likely to actually stick to it. You can get free programs online anywhere, but they've been there for years and years, and you still haven't made the change. And it was the same for me. Like, there was so much free resources out there which I just never made use of, and it wasn't until I actually bought something that I committed to it. So another huge one for me was having what I call specific numerical targets. So in terms of weight loss, it was around a 1% drop in body fat per week, or if you're trying to bulk, it's a zero point 0.2 kilogram muscle gain per week. These are sort of the only targets you need, really. And if you are hitting these targets week on week, then you don't need to change anything. This is why it's so important to track the data, because it's so easy for emotions to get in the way of and lead to making poor decisions. Whereas if you just make data driven decisions and take the emotion out of it, you're far more likely to make quicker progress, in my opinion. And as I mentioned, I have body composition scales. These are the Remfo Ellis ones, and you can just get them from Amazon. They're like 20 or 30 bucks. To track lifts, this is a huge one for motivation, is basically recording your workouts and having an app like the Strong app. It makes it so much easier. And the premium version is like $30 for the year. So for like $60 investment, you can basically track everything you need to make a body transformation. And I think one of the biggest motivators for me is actually the micro progress. And what does micro progress mean? Well, that's like the day to day, session to session, even like week to week progress, rather than like looking at the whole transformation of like multiple months. So you can see on the picture there, bottom left, my aim was a 0.1% drop in body fat, like per day. And when I hit that, I made it green. And when I didn't, I highlighted it red. And it just turned into a game where you just want to get as many greens as possible. And it becomes you know, quite a healthy obsession, I think. And the same with the tracking the lifts, like that feeling when you lift an extra rep compared to the last session. It's such a great feeling, and that good feeling is like a positive feedback loop, and you really enjoy that moment, and then you start to look forward to the next session, and that's really the key to getting consistent in the gym and sticking with it, is looking forward to the next session. Another huge one is without enjoyment, you won't become consistent. Sort of what I just mentioned. And one thing which helps massively with this is exercise selection. I've tried many times to incorporate the Bulgarian split squats, which is the picture on the left there, into my programs. I have done it consistently a couple times, and now honestly, I just hate doing them. They are not very enjoyable at all, and they're not necessary to build big legs. Like, there's plenty of other exercises. And the picture on the right there is a picture of me doing some deadlifts, and obviously there's nothing there, so I've actually never done a deadlift, just because I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, and I don't think I will do deadlifts until I've got someone to show me properly how to do it, just because I think the risk to reward ratio just really isn't there. And again, you can build a great back without doing deadlifts. So basically, if there's an exercise that you really don't like, then don't do it. Squats is another one that a lot of people don't like. I don't actually mind them. I much prefer them to the split squats. But just pick exercises that you enjoy, especially at the start, and just stick to those. And then once you've got some consistency, maybe you can start adding them back in. But the most important thing, I think, is to have consistency before intensity, and not going too crazy at the start, trying to commit to training like 6 or 7 times a week. What made the huge difference for me was lowering that bar and saying, look, I'm going to train 3 times a week, every other day during the week, have the weekends off. And that felt like a good amount to get consistent. And I started to look forward to the sessions as well. And that's what led to the consistency. So yeah, keep lowering the bar until you get consistent. And once you start to see the micro progress that I mentioned earlier, it starts to get enjoyable. And once you get to that tipping point of starting to enjoy going to the gym and looking forward to it, that's when you'll get consistent. And this is why you need data as well. It's so important because micro progress, you won't really notice it and it's hard to remember. Let's say you are doing bench press and you get 50 kilograms for 8 reps. Well, if you don't record it, then you go into the next session, it's highly likely you're just going to forget it. And you're going to miss out on that great feeling of making progress, the micro progress, because you didn't have the data from the last session. And it's the same with the scale weight as well. So, in summary, to finally get consistent and start to enjoy the gym as a skinny guy and start to build muscle, first of all, is to have a vision. What's the end goal? Visualize getting there. Having muscle and weight predictors. Ask yourself, what's the alternative? The time is going to pass anyway. Turn it into a game and realize that if you don't enjoy it, then you're highly unlikely to become consistent and you'll have to rely on discipline and willpower. Just know that you can completely transform yourself in a short amount of time if you just stick to it. Following a program, taking the guesswork out of everything, tracking data. This is a non-negotiable so that you can see the micro progress, which will really help with the consistency. And consistency before intensity. Keep lowering the bar until you can stick with it and then start to add sessions and volume from there. So if you want some help getting taken through this process, maybe you're a skinny fat guy, you don't have much muscle, but you don't have any abs either, click the first link in the description. It will take you to a coaching page and I can certainly help you through this whole process and walk you through the whole transformation. That's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you tomorrow.